Dear participants, good afternoon. As my colleague Mr. Mesic said that I will have a presentation about our project, what we did in those several months before. Unfortunately, in this presentation I will cover only one part what we are well known in Croatia. This is a part of supporting scheme for renewables. So when we finish this glorious job to establish the Croatian Power Exchange, we will have lots of things to join with you. So we will discuss a little bit of renewables in this. So we will tackle, sorry, it's a little bit down there. We will tackle some HROTE's obligations. Then we will see what is going on with renewables in Croatia until November this year. Then we will see the development of support scheme for renewables in Croatia. And the last slide will be diagram of impact of renewables integration on the spot price. So at first, to introduce HROTE, or Croatian Energy Market Operator, we are established in 2005 as an independent department of Croatian TSO, which is now HOPS. And during the 2007, Croatian government took all shares, so we are independent limited company owned by Croatian government. Our obligations through the Energy Act, what my colleague Mesic said and Mr. Jukic earlier today. In Croatia, we did with our other companies who are also obligated and responsible for making acts in preparation. We have obligation for organizing and development electricity market, which is still currently bilateral market, and what I said at the early beginning, we are preparing together with HOPS to establish the real day-ahead market in the first half of next year. So we have obligation for organizing the gas market. Right now we are doing a new model in the gas market in Croatia. And what we are well known in the public, we are organizing and doing support model for renewables. Also, we are doing a support model in production of biofuels for transportation. On this slide, you can see we took just from 2011 to 2013 to see the figures of developing the renewables in Croatia. Otherwise, unfortunately, we didn't do so much in, let's say, traditional plants, but in renewables we did a remarkable job. So it was 33 plants at the end of 2011, sorry. And now we have 562 plants with almost 300 megawatts on the grid right now. By annual production from 2007, when the incentive scheme started, It was a production only of less than 500 megawatt hours, comparing to figures of the end of 2011, which was 381 megawatt hours. So it's really rapidly rising, and this year will be much more. On this slide, you have the figures of additional what we have already contracted with eligible producer who are on pipeline, and there will be 638 additional power plants, mostly by small solar. Finally, it will result with this additional 246 will be around 540 megawatts next year on the grid in Croatia. To say some about development of support scheme for renewables, we have as all we have in Europe, objectives of renewable policy, and we have to produce measures to achieving that. Also, we can do and think maybe for new models. Oops, sorry. Objectives. As we already know, the directive of 28 directive of European Commission is to fulfillment those obligations of 2020, but as much as we can on lower cost. Second objective will be to find a solution that would be focused on balancing between profit, on one hand, profit for investors in renewable energy, and otherwise the overall social welfare. Measures for achieving those objectives should be policy stability, which is not right now, to be honest. But that means avoiding retroactive policy changes for existing projects and avoiding abrupt policy changes for upcoming projects. Also, one of the measures is simply and transparent permitting and grid access procedures. Some other, we have reducing revenue risks for investor by long-term contracts. Now we have 14 years of the contracts for investors in renewables, which was before 12. That also means priority of dispatching is necessary and no budget caps. Also, what is very important in measures is adjusting support level, which for any state is very important to adjusting to frequent tariff adjustment for renewables because we have a rapid cost reduction of the of the plants, so we have to adjust to not to pay more that we need. On this diagram, what I said on previous, it says you have a high growth. The goal is to have a high growth with low possible cost. So several countries succeed on that project, like Portugal, Spain, Germany, and Irish, and some other are less successful in this. For new models of support scheme, we have to consider several things that feed-in tariff is mostly used investment incentive in European countries. Some European countries has reached their peak in certain renewables, especially in photovoltaics and in Croatia, wind power plants. And the third one is that EU members as well as other in the world tend to increase the renewable energy sources and discuss for new incentive models, if it's possible. New models of support scheme should be covered by premium tariffs, fixed or variable, and some improvements on tendering procedures. So, okay. And on the last slide, you see this diagram which shows the impact of renewables integration on the spot price because energy producing by renewables has obligation to be put on grid. So in the same time, it lowers the competitiveness of fossil fuel plants. So in future, we have to think to measure and what I said before, adjust to fine-tuning and adjusting all those policies because feed-in tariff in finally will cost much, and we will have a potential problem like colleagues in Slovenia has already in Hungary, but we in Croatia try to find a reasonable measure for that. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. Addressing to that, the last slide was very interested presented. And referring to that, you gave the good start comparing the competitiveness of different sources. On that, I would add something that we are all based on, so the end users, consumers, that have to pay much more in a region than in a Central Europe, due to the fact that region cannot follow the impact that German and central parts of due to renewables had. So have you thought about it? Have you done any research on it and how to increase the competitiveness of a region on a long term?
Difficult question.
I know it's difficult, but you have to start answering because
should provide the right answer. Yeah. Our obligation is local, but our colleagues from renewable department has obligation to track what happened in the region, of course, and to prevent any obstacle or let's say mine on the field that should be a problem for the whole system to collapse.
Maybe we'll carry it on later, but a very short question. Second one, could you give us any information about market coupling with Hungary? That's as a project carrying on.
Yeah, as Croatia is situated between Hungary and Slovenia, as we discussed before, definitely intention of Croatia will be to couple in the same moment or maybe in two steps with Slovenians. and the Hungarian market. Yeah, simultaneously. We will try, or we will see in our bilateral discussions what will be the best option for us. Yeah. For all of us, definitely, because we have some calculation. If we establish power exchange for only Croatian purpose, will be some figures which is 5 times less than we couple with one country. If we couple with 2 sides, will be multiplying, definitely.